Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Eternal Flames, and my name is Blaze. Last time we spoke, we did some okay stuff. We started off with menus, then we did some mild modeling, just something to kind of get a feel. So today, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do some decent modeling. We're going to do a hard surface, and then we're going to do some organic a little bit later on today. But if you just simply want to do organic, feel free to skip ahead to the next video. For those of you who are here for the hard surface, I want you to know this is not my strong point. However, I will do my best to kind of show you. Now, before we get into this, there's two different ways to do this, and I'm gonna give a quick example right now. Um, Essentially, what you can do is when you're doing a hard surface, you don't need to worry about polygons as much. Granted, the fewer the better, but here's a nice little trick that I learned a while back, and that's basically to sometimes take multiple objects, and we're gonna go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees, and we're gonna try and match this up as best we can. And this is actually a technique I'm gonna be using right now, but essentially the two different techniques are: one, you use the mesh straight, and if you use the mesh directly, you're gonna get something more for games or more for something of like a cheap animation budget, stuff like that. But if you want a really good building, you can do stuff like this. And what this is actually going to do, well, actually, let's combine these. Mesh, combined, modify, center pivot. This is a big one because this will actually center your stuff, as well as you can also do a freeze transformations, which will freeze all this stuff right here and turn it back to 0, keeping this exactly the way it is now. Anyways, we're going to duplicate this by hitting Control D, and now we're going to combine this, modify, center pivot, rinse and repeat. And we're just going to keep it at, this level right now. And right off the bat, we've already created the corner of a building. Now, I'm going to try and keep this tutorial as short as possible. Now, what you just saw, very basic, very easy. But a couple of you are going to want to make buildings that are a bit more, how do I put this, special. So this is how you do like normal bricks for, say, a building. And don't be afraid to, make them smaller, make them bigger, stuff like that. But essentially, we're trying to avoid doing insides for now. If you want to do the insides to your building, we'll do a scene sometime later. I'll even give you a website. This guy actually gives out free scenes. And we'll tweak the scene and move stuff around and kind of create our own scene using his assets. Granted, I'm not normally going to do that. We're going to try and build our own. But for those of you who don't want to build your own, it's good to touch on all bases. Alright? Anyways, so we got our bricks over here. But what if we want things to look a little bit more realistic? Well, there's two ways to do that. One of them is using texture maps, but the other one is this way. We're going to do similar to yesterday, and we're going to kind of force a square to be a square when we smooth it. And in order to really get that one going, we want to, do our edge loop thing again. And we want to get this, as nice as possible. I think I got everything. Yeah, that's everything. So when we hit 3, and we got our smooth version, there you go. It's still a box. But this is where things get interesting. We're going to add in a couple of edge loops here, right? And we're going to do something that I haven't gone over yet. We're going to play with verts, alright? If we move this down, and this down just a touch, and then on this side we move this down, when we hit that 3, that brick looks a little bit more interesting, doesn't it? And then what we can do is, once again, we can copy and paste, and we can do similar to the other side. which will give us a bit more fun. It'll make things more interesting. Feel free to do this with a couple of areas too. Like, you want to really mess with it. Or maybe you want to add more edge loops. So you can add an edge loop like, say, here and tweak stuff a little bit more. Now, here's the thing about bricks and stuff like that. Keep in mind that these corners, unless they're chipped, should all essentially be the utmost height and utmost bottom of your stuff. You don't want to go past these essential lines, otherwise it doesn't look as real. Unless, once again, you've chipped a corner or something like that. Which, that's perfectly okay. In which case, let's go and chip this corner, shall we? Well, actually, we can do this a different way. We'll move this over. There. Keep in mind that we do have this smooth. If you want to keep it more rigid, feel free to just hit 1 and, that still works for a screwed up brick, Anyways, same basic idea. Duplicate this, and then we're going to rotate the Y by 90 degrees. And then we're going to just move and match. So, kind of like this. Alright? And actually, since we're doing the other corner, let's do it like this. And if you notice, I haven't even attached it to the corner yet. You don't have to immediately attach it. It's not that big of a thing that you need to do that. Okay, modify and center pivot. Let's duplicate this again. And once again, we're going to go, kind of 3. And then we're going to move this in. Now keep in mind, you don't need your bricks to be this specific size. I've run into people who go, well, it's going to be that size. No, it doesn't. Okay? Feel free to augment this to your own personal desires. Which means if you want some thinner bricks, let's actually modify or combine this real quick. Modify, center pivot, and we're actually going to thin down these things. And boom, look at that. That still looks terrific. Just keep in mind that a lot of this is going to become dependent on your texture mapping as well. And granted, we would go in and delete these, but I'm just going to leave them here for now. So, there, we've added some more texture to this building. We've got a little bit more to it. We can also, place more edge loops in here to do this stuff as well. But let's work on something you saw me work on yesterday, but I didn't quite explain. I just added it to the video. We're going to add a door. Okay? Now, we want to add a rectangle, and yeah, I know we did do a door. We did a door, but we didn't do a door. So, check this out. What we're going to do is using edge loops. Once again, you can do separate objects, but here's the thing. When you're doing indents, you generally want it to be the same object, because it doesn't work out as well as you would think using separate objects. So similar to our window yesterday, we're going to, you know what, let's we're going to cut this in half. Boom. Cut it in half. Okay, so this way we can actually get a perfect symmetry. And this is going to come into play later with organic modeling as well. We're going to go over that a little bit later because this is kind of important. Now, whilst I work here, and you guys watch me, we're going to extrude these two pieces in. A lot of people are going, well, you keep talking about organic modeling. What's the difference between organic and inorganic? Inorganic is going to be solid objects, and granted there will be a couple rounds and a couple things like that, but there's a definite difference in how it forms. Organic can be asymmetrical. Okay, mesh, mirror geometry. This one's important. Now, I'm probably going to screw this up the first time I normally do, but we're going to hit mirror. Oh, no, there it goes. And boom. But, here's a problem, okay? I know I mentioned before triangles aren't a bad thing on inorganic models, but if we can avoid these, we want to. Partially for lighting. Lighting is actually a thing that happens with triangles that kind of screws up. So I just selected those two edges and deleted them, okay? So we're going to drag this down now. But if you notice, well, you just got rid of your quad. Now it's a six-sided because, you got these two edges right here. Easy way to fix that, and this is going to be, once again, something we use more later with our organic. Interactive split tool. This one's very important. From here, I've got set to auto magnetize to corners, and we can set two corners and hit enter, and boom, we have a quad again. Now we just gotta do the same for the other side. And if you notice, I'm just deleting, these extra edges. You can actually avoid doing this, but I just find it to be easier to do it this way when there's a little mistake. We might run into an issue later with like character models where this isn't as easy. There will be like 4 or 5 lines that are all tangled into a triangle, and I'll show you how to fix that when the time comes. Anyways, so I just noticed, because I'm kind of a ditz, that these are way too far back for a door. It looks more like a window. So we're gonna pull this forward, and we're gonna go ahead and grab this loop, and we're going to. Ooh, that's a thing. Okay, we'll fix that. Boom, boom. I believe that should fix it. Yep, there we go. Because doors always have that kind of offset. We'll even increase the size a bit. Okay, so now we have ourselves a bit of a door. Bit of a thick door, but we can always shrink that down to about this size, right? And we'll make it more like this. Boom. Now, here's a trick. If you're never ever going to actually open this door or anything like that, we can actually build the door frame on this. But we're going to say, for the sake of argument, but I want to open the door. How do I do that? And make an actual door frame for this thing, because, it is outside, right? We're going to go ahead and move this back. And we want a door frame. Once again, I'm trying to keep these projects as simple as possible so that you guys can follow along. And we might get into some harder projects later. Anyways, so we're sitting here and we're looking at this, and it's like, well, we need a hole. This is where the bridge tool is going to come in handy, and I'm going to show you guys how to use this. So we're going to click on either face, right? And we're going to hit the extrude tool. Be sure to grab these little boxes, and it's going to create a little blue box in the center. We're going to shrink that up, and we're going to delete the core. Now a couple of you are going, well, that's going to leave this inner edge. Once again, bridge tool. So what we want to do is select these areas, and then I believe, yep, right here. If we click, well, we'll double click this. We want one division, and apply? Well, not interesting. That is not what we want, however. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do this one more time. Boom. Alright. So, not exactly how we wanted it, but it works, and so we got an extra line. Now, the trick is ooh, sorry, I misclicked something. That's vert faces, by the way. Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn off my Skype. Anyways, let me go back to faces here. So if we hit 3, you'll notice Well, that's a bit weird, right? As a way to check to see if everything's well connected, which apparently it's not. So we're going to select these two verts, and we're actually going to click this right here. This is merge verts. What this is going to do is this is going to take the two verts that are there and turn them into one. Now there are actually two here. Matter of fact, let's click off of this. I'm just going to select one and boom. You can see they're separated. So we're going to select those, and now if we hit 3, boom, turns into a hoop. Alright, so let's turn this into a door frame. So what we want to do is we want to flatten this as much as possible. And boom. Now, we could do another process using extruding and all that, but I find this to be the most efficient method, at least for me. Anyways, so let's see. We've got this right here. And we have two choices. We can either A, match up our door, or B, try to match up our frame. So this is where texturing kind of plays a role. Right now we're using the default, which is Lambert 1. Lambert 1's great if this is kind of all you're doing. But sometimes you kind of want a different texture just so that you can differentiate between two things. So just for the sake of argument, I'm going to show you guys how to change materials real quick. Mostly so we can see this a bit better. So let's see, we want to go down to right click and click assign new material. Now, this is what you're going to get as far as a menu. And, oh, it's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Anyways, so we'll move this out to the side and we can actually select from here. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab another Lambert. Now this is going to open up some stuff over here. We're going to name this, instead of Lambert 2, different matte. And we're going to change the color to be ever so different. We're going to change it to a green. Probably not the best thing, because let's do a blue instead. If an object has no texture, it actually turns green as well, so you want to be careful of that. So that, yeah. Anyways, so we can see right now our frame is really off. And boom. And boom, fixed. See? No change in texture, and we actually got a better view of what's going on. There's a couple other ways to do this, but once again, I just find that to be the most effective. Now, for those of you who don't exactly have the best computer, this is something you're going to want to do regularly while doing stuff like this. Click Object, select everything, like every little object. Go over here to Edit, delete by type, or delete all by type, and click History. Now, what this just did is all those backspace moves and stuff we would normally do to take a step back has been erased. This means your computer is no longer keeping track of them, as well as all the variables and stuff like that. It's similar to if we wanted to hit, say, like modify freeze transformations, I'd like to transformations. Without a history, your scene actually drops a lot of access baggage, and it could really clean up a scene. So, once again, we built something simple. I showed you a couple new techniques. And you guys got to see a chance of, this is how you do this, this, and this. Now, I want to extend these projects a bit more, but I really don't want to rush you guys either. And then, once again, I want to keep things very basic. I've shown you basic ways of doing bridging. I've shown you ways of doing basic modeling. I've shown you ways of doing layers and stuff like this. And I can show you a handful more projects. I mean, let's do one more thing. This can be considered either organic or inorganic because of the shape of the object. But we're going to work with we're gonna make a pause real quick. Okay, so I want you to go over here and click on the cylinder, and we're gonna create a cylinder. Now, once again, in the idea of making sure that we can do this correctly, we're gonna go into attributes. We're gonna click cylinder, and we're gonna reduce this down to 8. Doesn't look the greatest, but you want an even number, especially for what we're about to do. So, we're going to tap on our little square over here, which I believe is a setting you can set up. I forget where, though, exactly. But, anyways, we're going to take our edges. We're going to select these two. Did I do this correctly? Yeah, something seems off. Do we want... Oh, it's set to an odd number. No wonder. I'm sitting there like, I could swear we set this to an even number. I'm sorry. So we're going to go ahead and hit delete on those edges. And suddenly we've got quads. Okay? So, oh, looks like I selected a few too many. There we go. Okay, delete. Oh, there we go. See? If you accidentally select stuff, just take a step back and fix it from there. Okay, I believe we got it right this time. So, for this vase, we're actually going to do an inside. And we need to insert edge loop. We're going to do this twice. And then selecting faces, we're going to do this, expand, and boom, we've got the base for our pot. So now we're going to take this, we're going to, we're going to go up a bit, shrink this a bit, shrink this, and now for the lip. And we're basically just extruding and trying to make this lip as nice as possible. Okay. And now we're going to shrink this just a little bit more and just yoink it down. Okay. And then whilst we're inside, oops. No, I do not want the squares. We're going to take this down and we're going to click wireframe real quick. And we're going to expand while we're in here. And expand this as well. And then we're going to hit 5 again. And take a look. We now have a pot the size of a building. And if I hit my 3, that's almost like a milk jug. I guess for a pot we probably want a bit more of a bulge in the center there, huh? So we're going to grab this. And boom. Once again, don't be afraid to kind of tweak this. This is my own design. You can do stuff like this. Bit more pot-like, right? And now you have a pot for your pot. And the nice thing is if we wanted to say like make a stand or something like that, we could easily, shrink this down, right? And then we can easily hit Control D, duplicate, and you know, and then duplicate it again, and grab this edge and this edge, and move it down. Maybe even, constrict it a bit. Keep in mind that there is an inside too, so you want to kind of try and match the inside as best you can. But you can take the same pot and do it a dozen different ways. So suddenly we got these 3 big ass pots out in front of this place, and boom. Simple, easy, not difficult at all to really do. And let's just say if we want to build a scene, we could probably toss down a plane here, right? And try to line everything up as best we can on it. So doesn't matter if it breaks a little bit through the mesh. I mean, you could try and line it up perfectly, but it's not as necessary as you guys might think. Especially you OCD people out there who are going, "Oh, it's not perfect." Just relax, breathe, take a moment. It's okay. It's okay. And keep in mind, this is mine. Do yours how you see fit. Um, So here a little bit later today, I'll go ahead and post up some more videos, and I will post up one of an organic. I'm debating between a tree and a flower, just to keep things simple. After today, we'll go ahead and we'll try to get into a little bit of character modeling and the basics of body, but that one's gonna be broken up into a couple different pieces. Not only that, but we're gonna try and keep it basic human. No offense to you guys, but we're gonna stay away from anything too drastic until a little bit later down the line. Then we're gonna get into monsters and creatures and critters, and I want you guys to keep in mind that I'm an anatomy fanatic. I love good anatomy. I also like to tweak good anatomy. So there's your fair warning. And granted, while I am a fanatic, I'm not the greatest at this. I am not a super professional, but I do what I can. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, like and subscribe would be much appreciated. And if you have anything for future tutorials or ideas, please leave something in the comments below. This time I won't be doing anything extra. I'm sorry, guys. But at least now you guys have a couple more techniques under your belt to kind of attack some of these structures. Also, don't be afraid to use these layering techniques for, like, say, like these door frames. I mean, you can, yeah, I know I said I wouldn't do any more, but I like to ramble. You could, like, take this and take a dart and kind of mess it up a little bit, give it away from some of that monotony. Anyways, see you all next time. Have a nice day and try to enjoy life, right?